Good afternoon again, everyone, and thank you for joining us for today's empowerment session. I'm Christopher. I am the Director of Communications for the school district, and I also help lead a group called the Empowerment Collective. That's our focus is on helping to provide supports for families in different spaces. So we do a lot of work like this. We do the podcast. We do family engagement events in the evenings. So just thank you again for being here today, especially because we know that this time of year can be a lot. I can't believe it, but Thanksgiving is 2 weeks away. It seems wild to me. And we're here. We're here for the spirit of the holidays and kind of that sprint from now to the new year. So that's why we scheduled this session now, is to help provide you with some tools and strategies before you're really in the thick of it all to help you support the students and children in your lives. So I'm thrilled to introduce today's presenters. We've got two incredible members of our PLCS counseling staff. Emily Boisseree is a school counselor at Liberty Middle School, where she supports students navigating complex social and emotional challenges of adolescence. And Chris Bowlby is a counselor at Parkview Heights Elementary, bringing her expertise in helping our younger students and their families build skills and strategies as well. So both Emily and Chris firsthand see how the holiday season impacts our students, from elementary kids who get easily disrupted by changes in routine to those middle schoolers starting to feel those different family dynamics and social pressures. So they're here today as people who really do understand what you're feeling this time of year. So Emily and Chris, thank you so much for sharing your expertise with our families today, and I will turn it over to you.
Thank you, Christopher.
All right. Yeah. Thank you, everyone, for being here. We're just going to go ahead and get started. All right, so the main purpose of the presentation today is just to shed light on a few issues that individuals, families face during the holiday session or season. I know Christopher mentioned that a little bit. We just wanted to give you some tips and normalize some things that people go through during this time of year. It can be a really happy time of year, but it can also be stressful. And sometimes getting permission to not do all the things is sometimes what we need.
And I think it's good that we're coming from two different perspectives. And we're going to have a variety of people on here that come with different experiences. So my experience, my kids are all grown adults. So there may be people on here like, oh, how do you navigate the holidays when maybe you have a grown adult and then there's more families that you have to schedule with, right? And prepare. And Emily still has younger kids at home. So we can offer a couple of different experiences for everyone, hopefully.
Yep. So again, just the purpose is to let you know that you're not alone if you're feeling stressful, and what do you do when you're supposed to be happy or put on this charade of events, and maybe you don't feel it so much, or maybe you don't have the means to do what you were hoping for. We're gonna just give you some strategies to help you with that. And if at any point anyone has questions or comments or their own experiences that they'd like to share, because we know, we also are dealing with the holiday stress too, and so we welcome any conversations. Or I know someone's going to be monitoring the chat too. All right, so just things that we're going to touch on today: the expectations of what a holiday should look like. What happens when you or your kids just are, overwhelmed, overloaded, and how you can regulate, how to navigate some family dynamics, how to work through some grief and loss that you might be experiencing from past or present feelings, upholding traditions, and then sometimes that feeling of disappointment that can come with the holidays. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is the expectations that we feel that we, need to be doing during the holidays. And I know specifically as a mom, I see a lot of social media posts about, you know, these decorations and these, elaborate outfits or meals that are posted. And I'm like, oh my gosh, maybe I should be doing that. But I don't really want to. Sometimes I feel like I need to be doing it. And so, I think our kids also feel a little bit of pressure from social media because their friends or other TikTok influencers are posting videos of all of the gifts they're getting, and so it can feel a little bit like what we're doing isn't good enough, and you never really should feel like that. So I think that it's a time of year when, again, what do we want to feel, what is important to us, what do we want our kids to remember. And so maybe taking a break from social media, taking a break from scrolling, taking a break from posting, because maybe we can all agree not to post the the pictures or all the things, because if we see our our friends doing it or other influencers doing it, um we have that external motivation, or maybe stress even. Oh right, I probably need to be doing that too. And really we don't. It's okay. It's the little things at home, within your household and with your family, that really makes those memories last, not the Pinterest perfect holiday. And and if you are the person who wants to do all the things and post all the things, that's okay. I just, one thing I sometimes ask myself is it for the post, or is it for the memory? Are we doing this because I want my kids to remember this, or am I posting this because I feel like I want people to know that I did that? And so that's just a good thing to keep in mind.
Well, and the financial burden. I know a lot of people talk about how if they don't have a budget, or sometimes even if they do, if they go over it. And I think that's one reason why January can be that depressing month, because then all of a sudden the bills are coming in for all the things that your kids wanted because you wanted to make them happy, or significant others. And just depending on what your budget is, if you can stay within that, memories are the biggest thing. So when I ask my adult kids what was their favorite things around the holidays, it was the four of them. Neither of the four of them, none of the four of them have even said and mentioned a gift. It was all experiences and memories. And now, since we're adults, we do more experiences than the gift giving. So that's just something to keep in mind. I was thinking back when I was a kid, I remember experiences. I really can't think of one gift that I got that just sticks and is a core memory. It's those experiences that are more core memories than anything. You can always, if financial issues are hard, you can do all kinds of handmade things. You can reach out to different food banks. We have a list. The school counselors can always help with that. There's holiday baskets that go out. You can always reach out to your school counselor if you're needing some assistance with that. I would encourage you to do that.
I think too, I come from a very large family, and so it's not realistic for us to buy gifts for everyone. And so sometimes doing a gift exchange might help limit the cost, where maybe you're just buying one gift. Or, maybe you just decide as an extended family that you're not going to do a gift exchange, that maybe you're all going to go out to dinner or spend some time together. But yeah, I think I like what Chris had said, like, same with my kids. I mean, right now they're teenagers, so they do want all the things. But when I ask them about when they were little, right, they're like, oh, I remember when we went and looked at, Christmas lights, and we had hot cocoa in the van, those types of things. That's what they're going to remember. But I know in the moment it seems like you want to give them everything. So maybe you guys can talk as a family and see what you want that to look like, because I mean, really, you are doing the best that you can do, and sometimes I think we need to give ourselves a little bit of grace and remember that.
Mm-hmm. So this comes into, we can all overschedule, right? Especially during the holiday season. And when we tend to overschedule, our brains can only hold so much. So we have shorter attention spans. We can become overwhelmed a lot easier. So what are some of the things that we can do to lessen this? As you said, Emily, in the last slide, like eliminating the shoulds, if we should be like, we don't have to post everything. For those of you that send out like Christmas cards, it's okay if 1 year your life has changed and altered a little bit and you're just not able to do it. Like you said, just give yourself some grace. It is really okay. Um, let kids help make a bucket list of the things that they really want to do over the holidays, and maybe some of them you can, and maybe some of them you can't. We also talk about how this is their time off too, those 2 weeks break. So maybe even if it's just like letting them sleep in a little bit, what would they really like to do instead of keeping it super full and go, 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 go? And then just prioritize by importance. If there's a lot of things listed and you're invited to a lot of parties and get-togethers, maybe just list the ones that this is what you really, really want to do, and or you go to others and you just don't spend as long there. It's just a shorter amount of time. And just enjoy the break. Those two, it will go by fast. Yep.
Yeah, I think you said it. I don't have anything to add to that.
Okay. So, sensory overload is not just for kids, even adults. As you know, we can have sensory overload. It's when our brains just get so full in our senses, we kind of lose that prefrontal cortex, that thinking part of our brain. And so, one, how can we minimize that? And two, there's some things we can do in the moment to help when we're feeling really overstimulated. So some of the things are super easy. When we get we have so much anxiety, what we want to do, it's a bigger word, but it's super simple. It's called the parasympathetic nervous system. And we want to be able to activate that. And there are some simple things we can do, such as humming with a closed mouth for 2 minutes. That can automatically help your breathing, help your brain. And that's something you don't even have to try, right? You're just hum with your mouth closed for 2 minutes. Anybody can do that. You can share that with your kids. Singing. I think that's why sometimes so many people like sing in their car, because it activates that nervous system that helps your heart rate, helps your brain, gives you more oxygen, helps you be able to regulate. Cold water, if you're able to splash like cold water on your face, especially like the top part. Now, we can't always do that, but maybe just putting cold waters on your hands under some cold running water, having an ice cube in them, that can help. Walking activates the parasympathetic nervous system. So there are some things like humming and singing that we can just all do that really does work. Noise canceling headphones. I know sometimes it can be loud at school during the lunchroom or during assemblies. And we have some kids, even some like that will wear the noise canceling headphones. And I know some adults also have the smaller ones that go into your ears just to help with all the stuff going on around us. And maybe if we talked earlier about planning shorter outings, but maybe it's also creating a visual schedule for those kids who need to see, okay, what exactly are we doing? We kind of want to still maintain our routine. But if you're going to be doing something totally out of the norm, make that visual schedule so they can see, and maybe even put like, this is how much time we're going to be there for. And however you devise time, like if it's 30 minutes or this is one cartoon show, that you can visualize that timer.
I
And
also think too, when like scheduling downtime and breaks, I think if you have multiple events in a day, I know it said plan shorter outings, but even maybe just coming home and giving time to like completely reset, get out of like the itchy clothes, or, give the kids and yourself a time to just reset and prepare for the next event, because it can be a lot.
Yeah. Oh, there's one more easy thing you can do to reset. And so a lot of research has come out of this. It's hard to believe that just breathing can help, but the research out of Stanford says if you can do this for 2 minutes, 2 to 5 minutes, it's better than meditation. So it's called cyclical breathing. And what you do is you take in two, so you're used to hearing the one breath and then breathing out through your mouth. It's important you breathe in through your nose, out through your mouth, and you should breathe out longer through your mouth than you're breathing in. But it's the two short breaths. It's and then breathing out through your mouth. So you do that. There's also square breathing where you breathe in for 4 seconds through your nose, hold for 7 seconds, and then breathe out for 8 seconds. So there is something to be said for breathing. And I think a lot of the kids, I know the school counselors expect, especially in elementary schools, teach a lot of these. We're also going to have a link that you can look at through, I think we set up a QR code that is called Grounding Techniques. And it's a kid-friendly video that teaches 10 different activities that you and your kids could use. And it's for kids, but adults can use it too. And I'll show all 10 of the activities to kids and then have them pick and choose which ones they would like best, because not everything that works for me would work for someone else. So I let them pick them out, help them remember them, maybe with some visuals, and then you're all set. If you guys are out and about, you can say, hey, remember we learned this grounding technique? Let's just go ahead and do it real quick. Because our kids will feed off of us. If we are overwhelmed and anxious, they are definitely going to pick up on that. So maybe kind of regulating yourself and then co-regulating with your kids. It's very hard for especially a younger child to regulate on their own without that adult help.
Another couple little tips too, if you are going to multiple events, maybe bringing a change of clothes for the kids. If they're in, fancy stuff, maybe bringing their pajamas so they can be more comfortable, or some of their favorite snacks or foods, because sometimes there's lots of, options that kids aren't used to, or, maybe to avoid if they get, throw in a fit, if there's something that they don't want to eat. So setting them up for success, because it is a completely different, day for them, and things maybe they've never done before, or they just don't really like it. So we want to make sure that we have things for them to look forward to and that are comfortable for them.
And I also wanted to add too that I forgot to say that if we're somewhere and you're familiar with the environment, is there a place, like a pre-planned place within that home environment that you're going to, that your child can go to and then just take like a short break? And so you already know ahead of time that, hey, we're going to come over here so you can just reset. I know in classrooms, a lot of the classrooms, teachers have like a calm down area where a kid just knows, oh, I can go over there and and there's some things there to help me calm down. So if they already know that in advance, I think that would be helpful. And prioritizing self-care. The biggest one I think out of that is sleep. You have to get enough sleep. It's hard really to function if we have less sleep than needed. Now, for some people, they need 10 hours. For other people, they are perfectly fine on 6 hours. But I know for sure, like with kids, if they're not getting enough sleep, it's very hard for them to maintain their emotions throughout the day. It's hard enough anyway, but with less sleep, it's very hard. And I think in grade school, I think at 10 hours, unless you're in sixth grade, I think 10 hours, maybe even for some sixth graders, 10 hours is what they recommend that they get.
I would also add like physical activity and limiting the use of like alcohol, which is a lot common during the holidays, but it typically doesn't make you feel great. And so trying to maintain your sleep routines as much as possible, because most of our other days are going to be all out of sorts. So trying to move around a little bit, move your body, eat as healthy as you can, which again, it's hard because there's lots of goodies and, yummy stuff around, but try when you can, making good choices and remembering to move your body. Okay. Our next topic is family dynamics. And I would say most people who, have somewhere to go during the holidays, maybe the family situation is not always the most happy, or, there might be things that are going on that are hard to navigate. And so we're just going to touch on a couple topics, again, to give you some tips to hopefully make it a little less awkward or tense.
Yeah, I would say that if you are able to plan together, if the two households can come together and plan together and keep the kids at the forefront, and say to the what's going to be best for the child, for the children, very child focused, and not getting them in the middle, and being a united front when kids know, okay, they're getting along, we've got this, everybody's on the same page. Maybe being flexible when you can be. I know sometimes it's not always possible, but if there's some flexibility, if you can be flexible. And then also loneliness can be a big thing. So if it is a divided household and maybe it is actual Christmas Day and you don't have the children with you because they're at the other household, I want you to give yourself some grace and maybe plan ahead. How are you going to deal with that? Is there a friend that you can see? Or maybe you're just going to enjoy some alone time and watch your favorite shows. Just plan for it and, give yourself some grace. And I also say give kids grace. A lot of times adults are giving each other grace, but I think we need to give kids grace, especially at this time as well.
Yeah, because I think if, the kids know that they're not going to be at a certain household, Christmas Eve or Christmas morning or whatever, right? There's some sadness related to that. And sometimes, especially with these divided households, they might long for, what their family used to look like. And so just again, making sure that like you are presenting as much as possible. I know that's not always, the situation, but like the kids are the most important people in that situation. And so how you portray your relationship with the other parent really kind of helps them see that, okay, they're okay, we're going to be okay. I might not be at this parent's house, but I'll get to see them tomorrow, so, and I do think, loneliness is a part of it, and that could be really hard to wake up on Christmas morning or, wherever and not be at the house you usually are, or to wake up and not have your kids there. So kind of like Chris said, making sure that you are helping yourself out as much as you can in those situations so you can be there and be present for your kids when they are with you. And then we also know that a lot of people in general don't get along, and there's times where you are in a conflict with a family member. And so just a couple things to keep in mind, which I know it can be easier said than done, but I think it's important if you are going to a family event and you do not get along with another person there, that we are adults and it's okay to say no. If you don't want to go to that event because it is too heated or, whatever's going on, maybe try not to go and see how it goes. I don't know who you're answering to and who might have a problem with that, but you do have the choice to not attend if that's going to be the best thing for your mental health. And also just remember, like, you don't need to change who you are and what you believe in just because, these people think that you should be this way or this is what they believe in. I also think specifically like setting boundaries for like physical touch whether you have older relatives and your kids, like you don't need to force them to give somebody a hug if they don't want to give somebody a hug. I think just making sure that our kids are comfortable, and you setting boundaries for yourself too. If you don't want to stay late, or you don't want to have that drink, or it's okay again to say no. I think sometimes having a conversation ahead of time about topics that you can kind of press pause on, whether it be politics or religion. Again, we're the adults, we're setting the example for the children in the house. Can we get through a 2 or 3 hour dinner or event without, being at each other's throats because, somebody voted for somebody? And, it's, again, what is the purpose of the season? Why are we here? What are we trying to celebrate?
And it's okay if someone brings something up that you're thinking, okay, well, we said we weren't going to bring this and talk about this. It's okay to say, I'm not going to answer that. We're not going to talk about this. We are here to enjoy each other's time and the holiday. So just be confident in yourself and give yourself permission to do that.
And I think sometimes you just have to also know that there's going to be people you don't get along with and people who don't get along with you. And what can you just kind of accept ahead of time moving into it, that, okay, this might not be, my favorite place to go, but I'm doing it because, I get to see these people and be around my family. And I can try my best to just accept that this person or these people aren't my thing, and just kind of get through your night or your day as best as you can. And always remember just to take care of yourself. Another topic that is kind of sensitive around the holidays is grief and loss. A lot of us have experienced losing someone, and typically it feels a little bit more fresh around the holidays. So I think compassion is the main thing that we need to try to give ourselves and each other around the holidays. I know we said this a lot, but giving ourselves grace, or other people, maybe, this is the first holiday without a loved one and you don't feel like celebrating, and that's okay. I know Chris talked about sending out Christmas cards. You don't need to send out Christmas cards. There's no expectation for you to be a certain way, to celebrate a certain way, especially if you are grieving the loss of somebody. And it could be a new loss, or it can be one that, you've experienced year after year. The holidays are tough and they bring up memories, and sometimes just a reminder that your life doesn't look the way that it did, and you're really sad, and that's okay. I do think it's also important to try not to compare yourself to what other people are doing. Okay, well, this maybe person lost their parent last year and they seem to be doing okay. Maybe I need to be doing this too. I know it's hard, but really try not to compare your situation to someone else's. And I know Chris has a couple great ideas about the honoring the memories and traditions, because really it is important to continue to talk about the person. I thought that, I know a lot of people don't print pictures anymore, but I think having a printed picture in a frame, to just kind of have their presence there, and just again, so you can talk about them and share stories.
I think that's the biggest thing too, looking at it from a kid's perspective as well. It's important to help that child to be able to talk about them, to say their name instead of avoiding the whole conversation. Because I'm sure everyone there is already thinking about it. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about those happy memories. Do you remember when grandpa or grandma or whoever it is did this? And maybe make their favorite dish, like if it's sweet potato pie. This is one of her favorite things. I know families who have set actually a dinner place for that loved one who is no longer there. I would say there's no wrong or right way. I would say I think it's healthy if you don't suppress it and you're able to talk about it. Especially if your child has questions, try to answer them to the best of your ability. There's lots of things out there online that can help navigate that for your kids. We are also very lucky to have a organization here. It used to be called Teddy Bear Hollow. Now it's called the Hope Collective. And it's an organization that specifically exists to help those who have lost a family member, a good friend. It has really expanded to include a lot of things. They work with adults, families, kids, teens. They have support groups that usually, I think, meet for 6 to 8 weeks. And kids are grouped with kids of their own age. Adults are grouped with other adults who have experienced a similar loss. So, and now also over the holidays, they have a program called Tinsel and Tears for families to come in like on a Saturday. So I would encourage you, and I think that's in the QR code as well, to look into something like that. That might be helpful for you.
Yeah. Okay, we are going to talk about traditions, and I know everyone has them. Everyone probably feels some sort of way about them. Some probably really love carrying them on. Maybe some people don't know why they're carrying them on, but they just do it because it's always been the way that it was, and this is how, you know, things have looked. And so I think that sometimes there's some pressure to that we feel that we need to carry these things on. So it is okay to start new traditions. It's okay to compromise on traditions, especially I know Chris and I were talking if, you know, you have your partner and you join families and you know, one thing was celebrated one way and your family celebrated a different way. How can you compromise? So maybe you both are honoring those traditions, but then for your family, it's unique to you guys. And maybe if it's a really hard line on one end of the family, you know, what is the purpose of that? Is it gonna help make, you know, is it gonna make grandma's year that you come and you make those gingerbread houses with her, right? Maybe, and that's okay. Maybe it's not your thing, but if you know that it's really important to her and you're okay with it, okay, do it. I think too, you know, is it if you're going to carry on a tradition like that, is it important to, you know, have that time with your grandma and have the cousins all get together, or is it about the actual, you know, gingerbread houses? So, you know, what is the importance of it? And I mean, do you like them? I think as adults, again, around the holidays, we feel like we have to do all these things. And really, are you enjoying what you're doing? Is it fun for you? Is it fun for your kids? Are they going to remember this? And if not, maybe change it, right? Who's going to be upset about that? And maybe can you have a conversation if with that person if they are going to be upset that you choose not to do this? Because I think it's all that pressure that we feel that we need to be doing these things, and we don't really need to be doing them.
And I would say be as flexible as you can, speaking from experience. When your family starts, when your kids are adults and then they have their own relationships, and then you're putting in all these different people, and so there's more schedules and times. Maybe, you know, there's Christmas Eve. If we're talking about Christmas and Christmas Eve, 2 days, right? So can you be more flexible and say, you know what, as long as we get to spend time together, it's okay if it's not Christmas Eve. We can do it the day before. We can do it because it is actually the day, or is it the time that you're getting to spend? And that can make it so much less stressful for you if you're trying to figure out, and less stress for everybody else too, if you're trying to divide up that day so everybody's not having to go someplace different.
Yeah. Oh, and we did that in my family. We ended up doing ours like a week before because I do have a big family and everybody was doing their own thing. And for us, it wasn't about getting together on those 2 days. It was about just getting together and being able to be with each other. And so, and you know, like we've talked before, those 2 days can get really, really busy too. So, sometimes just thinking that winter is a really long time, right? Do you need to ice skate those 2 weeks of break or during those 3 days? Like, is this something you can do in January or February? So just, if it is a tradition, does it have to be right at that moment, or can you spread that out or do it earlier or later? Yeah. Okay, the next.
Sorry. I think that's helpful just because with the expectations in social media, there's somebody will post something that they've started to do with like their kid, their first kid, and you're like, gosh darn it, I would have loved to do that. My kids are now 10 or whatever. And just that permission to like, you can start and stop traditions at any time and do them at any time. And if you don't have the pictures from when they're a baby until now, that's okay. But again, social media makes us feel like we're failing because we haven't been doing that all along.
Yep, absolutely.
Good
Thanks.
point.
Okay, and then okay, so disappointment is a reality. We all feel disappointment at some point in our lives, and I think especially around the holidays, again, that need to feel like we are fulfilling people's wishes and that we're being fulfilled and we're doing all the things, and maybe we're disappointed with gifts that we received. Maybe, we're having financial troubles and our year doesn't look the way that, we thought it would at this point. And maybe your career didn't, take off the way that you would, and you're not any further this year than you were last year. And that's okay. I
Yes.
think that this time of year in general, right, coming up on the end of a year, you do a lot of self-reflection and, am I good enough? Did I do all the things? Are my kids going to be happy? I think that it's really easy to kind of beat ourselves down, and it's going to further that disappointment. And like Chris said earlier, there's a reason why January is a really, statistically the highest month for, reported depression, because I think that we just feel a disappointment in maybe ourselves or our situations, when in reality, again, I think that we're all doing the best that we can do, and we're trying to do what we can for our kids. And it's okay if it doesn't look the way that you thought it was going to be. I think practicing gratitude, that's something that I try to do every day. What am I grateful for? What is going well? Okay, yeah, these things aren't, but I'm not going to focus on that right now. I want to focus on what is going good. What am I proud of? And, trying to take the commercialism out of the holidays is hard, but really, I think that is important. Talk to yourself positively, like, hey, good job. You made, cookies. Who cares if you used a prepackaged like log of Christmas cookies, right? You made them, and your kids don't care, right? They want to make cookies with their parent or their grandma, or they want to go and look at Christmas lights. It doesn't matter if it's a perfect session or whatever, but I do think that it is really easy to feel disappointed in what's going on around us. But gratitude, positive self-talk, and really, what message are we sending to our kids? If we're like, oh, this is not, this gift, wasn't great, or I was hoping for this. We want to raise kids who can handle disappointment and practice gratitude and talk nicely to themselves. So we also need to be practicing that as adults.
I can't stress enough the positive self-talk. From kids all the way up through the elderly, we have to be kind to ourselves, because think about it. If we are talking negatively to ourselves, it's almost like having someone following us around and whispering in our ear how bad we're doing, how we should have done it this way, and just so hard on ourselves. If you wouldn't say it to your best friend or to your loved ones, you shouldn't say it to yourself, because it's going to make you feel the same way, right? And I think it's good to think out loud sometimes, to model for our kids and to show that they don't know what we're thinking, but if something pops up, you can say out loud, like, okay, yeah, that was disappointing, but you know what? I'm still grateful that we have such and such. Or I could really be upset with myself right now, but I'm going to tell myself, you know what? I'm doing the best I can. I'll get it right next time. So let them hear like what you're actually, the positive self-talk that you're doing. I think that would be good for them to hear that.
One thing to keep in mind too, if you are feeling stressed out about the upcoming month, maybe take a little bit of time to reflect and see what is important to you. What do you want your holiday to look like? What do you want your kids to remember? Right? Because really, what message are we sending to them? Is it all the things and all the activities and the overscheduling? Is that what's important? Or is it being together and having quality time and making those memories? Again, I think it's just really easy to get caught up in, the day-to-day, the social media, the commercialism, just the shoulds, and just take a step back, have some time to reflect. How do you want to connect with people? What do you want your message to be? I think it's just a good self-reflection and a good time to do that before everybody gets super busy. Okay, so this is the resource link. So we put the QR code if you want to scan it. There's going to be links for the Collective for Hope, the grief support for adults and children. Some of the supports that we offer here in the district, like the PLCS Community Closet, any of the financial assistance, Lift Up Sarpy, St. Vincent de Paul, and then we know that with the SNAP benefits that are suspended at the moment, people are in need of some food. And so the Sarpy Cares and the neighborhood food pantries are ones that we always refer to families or refer families to. If you have any questions, I know Chris is also available and the resource link should work.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Enjoy the rest of your week.